self. Know thyself. These two words are inscribed at the entrance of the Temple of Apollo in Delphi, Greece. These two words, know thyself, form the foundation of most of the tools and methods that are used in modern day psychology and leadership. The ancient Greeks were regarded as among the wisest people in human history. Their aphorisms and maxims have provided direction and destination to some of the most accomplished people in the world. The reason I speak about ancient culture is that our guest today is a wise and erudite teacher. She is someone who utilizes ancient classical wisdom and infuses it into contemporary usable frames. She has been twice voted as the top 50 LinkedIn influencers globally. Let me say that again. She has been twice voted as the top 50 LinkedIn influencers globally. Her name is Caroline Fernandez, and I'd like to welcome her here today. It's so lovely to have you here with us, Caroline. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
That's so sweet. And, I really felt your warmth. I really felt your genuineness, Arjun, through that introduction. But more importantly, your language and the choice of words that you use and how you say it. Those are things that I kind of, pay intuitive attention to. So thank you for having me on your show as your guest. I'm most honored to share space with you and with your followers, your viewers. And I'm eager to get into this space of intention with you, with purpose. I envision this to be a very, very meaningful, very exciting conversation. So please take it away.
Superb. Intention, purpose, space. You're saying all my favorite words now.
They're mine
Great, great.
too. They are mine too.
So, Caroline, please allow me to quickly share your repertoire with our audience. So, I'm just going to introduce you properly to those who are listening in, and then we can get started. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's,
Oh,
I'm just following your lead out here. So please go
fantastic.
ahead.
Fantastic. All right. So, Caroline is an entrepreneur. She has over 20 years of experience in corporate and in business. She is a transformational coach, a keynote speaker, a facilitator, and a writer based in the city of Bangalore in India. Over the last 2 decades, Caroline has coached, trained, and mentored thousands of humans across the globe. She has added value to the likes of Hewlett Packard, Dell, Huawei, Intel, Cisco, and eBay. When you put it succinctly, Caroline has developed what I call as systems for success for people who want to get ahead in life. Now, when reading about Caroline and then contemplating about the value that she brings to people, here are the words that best describe what Caroline can give to you. These are the words that best describe the value that she brings to you. And the words are guidance, advice, mentorship, assistance, counsel, wisdom, solace, relief, perspective, direction, strategy, and clarity. The
Wow.
energy.
Wow. I have goosebumps right now. I can feel all my chakras opening up. Wow.
And talking about chakras, the energy of each of these words exemplifies who and what Caroline is. Now, Caroline also espouses and teaches the tenets of mindfulness and higher awareness. And she just mentioned the word chakras, which are energy centers. Who knows? We go with the flow, and she tells us something about that as we proceed further. And just as the ancient Greeks, Caroline can help you to know yourself. She can help you to know yourself and from that place grow yourself. What got me really fascinated about Caroline is her success in the area of women empowerment and women leadership. in our discussions, among other things, I'm going to ask her to speak specifically about an environment that she has created for women, enabling women to learn, to develop, to evolve, and to transform. And that environment is called chrysalis, the chrysalis that helps a caterpillar to transform into a butterfly. And Caroline spells chrysalis as a Krisullis. I did spell that correctly, didn't I, Caroline?
You
Wonderful.
did. Yes, you
Car-
did.
Yes. Now, Caroline continues to help men and women to go through and to grow through their unique transformation journey. Caroline has also co authored a book titled Becoming You, Stories of Courage and Vulnerability. Let me say that book title again: Becoming You, Stories of Courage and Vulnerability. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to present the compassionate, the creative, and the courageous Caroline Fernandez. Welcome, Caroline.
Wow, wow. I really, I can feel my hair raising through my entire body as you say these things, because it's not scripted, it's all from you. And
Thank
for you to be able to give shape and form to all of this is phenomenal. So I want to commend you and appreciate you for not just the work you do, for several people that you work with, several thousands of people probably, but more importantly, I think, for someone to even articulate it reflects the kind of inner work and embodiment that you carry. So thank you so, so much for
you.
the
Thank
work
you.
that you are doing. It's so lovely to be in this space with you. It really is.
Awesome, awesome, super, super. So while we're in this quantum space of infinite potentials, let us now kind of bring this together into the particles of questions from the quantum field and take it on from there. So Caroline, tell us who Caroline is. Where did your journey begin and what has brought you to where you are today?
That's such a that's such a deep question to unpack, actually, because I, through this journey, this lifetime, I think I started to realize very early on that I had a purpose and a mission. Even as a teenager, never quite fitted in with mainstream things that people my age were doing. Always felt out of place, was you know kind of kept aside. And I'm actually glad for those experiences, because I've I've come to realize that while being a human or occupying this vessel that we call a physical body, there is so much more that we are all capable of. And while I speak for myself, I also speak as a representative of the human collective, not just watching in, but beyond that. So essentially, I think we're all here. We're given certain gifts, certain talents, also things that we choose in this lifetime to come and not just bring forth, but birth forth. And I know that for a long, long time, I had forgotten who I was. And I was sharing this with my son, because my son and I have very, very interesting, very deep conversations, even though he's over 30 years younger than me. In a quantum reality, he's much older than me. He's like a sage, and he gets all this. And I was just saying that adversity is just one of the channels or the methodologies that allows us to unpack and remember who we are. There are many others, our gifts and talents. And I feel that the earlier we realize it, it can just explode into the way we serve and support one another. For me, adversity has been one of those ways. But through the work that I have been doing for myself and for others, transformational work, I started to realize that I could reframe everything, every experience in this lifetime so that I don't look at myself as a victim, so that I don't look at myself as someone who, looks at the poor me. No, I am you and I and all of us are an expression of divine form. And once we start to step into that power, into that greatness, into that spirit that's just waiting to burst through, we start to magnetize it. And I'm seeing that. I'm seeing that. It's a very, very powerful, very beautiful journey. Long winding answer, but I feel there's so much that we can give to the world when we start to understand how much potency lies in us.
Absolutely. No, that's it's really, really amazing what you said. And, there's so many directions we can go from what you've spoken about. What's coming to me straight away is when you spoke about the victim mindset. My mentor, many years ago, decades ago, taught me be a victor rather than a victim. And he also introduced me to a concept called the plum syndrome, PLOM, poor little old me. And there is the addiction to self persecution and victimhood is so ubiquitous in our society. And your book uses the words courage and uses the two words courage and vulnerability.
Yeah.
And I got curious about that, stories of courage and stories of vulnerability. From a very left-brained, three-dimensional perspective, these two words seem as oxymorons to one another, antithetical to each other. How do you kind of reconcile and bring this together when you say courage and vulnerability? And it's fascinating to me to kind of look at opposing concepts and then bring them together and integrate them together. So could you tell us about the idea about courage and vulnerability, bringing them together, and perhaps also that can segue into some of the ideas in your book?
Sure, sure. And thank you for that question. So, I think the inner work has taught me and revealed um, the wisdom that a child has. Deepak Chopra talks about this in his book Synchro Destiny. He says that if you ask a child, take a child to Disneyland and you ask the child, do you know about Mickey Mouse? And the child says, yes, I know Mickey Mouse. And Deepak says, is Mickey Mouse real? And the child says, yes. And then you ask the child one more time, is Mickey Mouse real? And the child says, no. And both those answers come out with equal confidence and equal clarity, and no hesitation. So, why I use that as an example is because, our human mind is so conditioned and so constrained from the fact that we can hold multiple perspectives within our being, which is much more than our body, together. If we start to allow it, duality is just a frame of our conditioned mind. And so for me, I've understood that courage and vulnerability are journeys towards one another. They're interconnected, as well as can stand alone. I've used courage in several instances where I have been at lower frequency, emotions like some of the most basic, like fear. And through that, being able to access and transmute that energy into my understanding of how I can impact someone by using my voice, by owning my story, by understanding some of the shame, some of the guilt, some of the embarrassment that I carried, but being able to unpack that with courage has revealed vulnerability. And that's one part of it. The other is that I also understand that when I access my heart chakra and when I start to speak from my heart and really open myself up in a way that is termed vulnerable, because these are all terminologies that we give to experiences, um, I feel that I'm unlocking a dimension within myself, even if it is a small, seemingly small tweak in my behavior or a decision that I would not have made erstwhile. That comes across as vulnerable because, I think that as a collective, humanity we're so afraid to be seen as weak, right? You spoke about these opposites, seeming opposites. that if I'm vulnerable and I say I don't know something, or can you show me how, can you help me, um, or afraid of what we call failure, uh, we'll be laughed at, we'll be rejected, we'll be abandoned at a very core level. So those are some of the things. And what was interesting with writing the book, and if you notice, I'm kind of taking the dive into the book as well, is that I was hesitant to talk about many of my experiences from my past. I was afraid to revisit those memories. I was afraid to feel some of the things that I felt in those times. And working with both my editors, we had two editors, one uh, over here in India and one in Europe. And from one of them, who is a very close friend of mine, she said, I really need to feel it. I want you to go deeper. I want you to unpack this. And let me tell you, I was really, really afraid of being judged. I was afraid of how I'd be seen, until I realized that the only person who was really not seeing herself was me. I needed to acknowledge myself. And so writing this book has been hugely, at a very basic level, cathartic. But then from a more transformational angle, I think it released a lot of blocks around areas in the past that I was not willing to revisit from an observational standpoint, and with courage and with heart.
Amazing, amazing. Is catharsis in your experience a necessary precursor to higher forms of awareness, higher levels of awareness? What do you think?
That's a good question. I think I believe in my area of work, when I work with myself and with my clients and with my son. My belief is that being able to look at it, being able to acknowledge it, catharsis doesn't necessarily have to be going on social media talking about it and getting people to like it. No, no, it's about silence, it's about sitting with yourself, it's about release, it's about forgiveness, because all forgiveness is self forgiveness. Like one of my masters says, Reverend Michael Bernard Beckwith, I follow his work, and in his envisioning exercise he talks about this, that a lot of times we think that if we're releasing something, or if we're forgiving someone who we think has done us wrong, we are letting them off the hook. But it's not about that. So catharsis, as is one dimension, but it's really about acknowledgement, acceptance, radical acceptance, to say it's all right, whatever it is, it's all right.
Yeah, absolutely. You spoke about radical acceptance. I was listening to a YouTube video by this lady, and interestingly, I do recollect her name as also being Caroline, but I'm not able to recall her last name. She spoke about an idea called outrageous openness.
Oh, lovely.
And the whole idea about being outrageously open just with yourself, within yourself, about the feelings that you're feeling,
Yeah.
and permitting, allowing the darker emotions within to just be rather than insisting that they go away, which takes us right into the idea of what is now being referred to as shadow work. The whole idea of, we have these bright emotions of joy, happiness, ecstasy, appreciation, celebration, but we also have the darker emotions of depression and despair and envy, jealousy, guilt and anger and aggression and so forth. Have you done any work in with clients, particularly when they come to you with, I usually call the dark emotions as the three buckets, and the three buckets are anger, and it's allied emotions, then there's guilt, and then after that there's depression. So under depression you have your sadness and despair, and under guilt you have your shame, and sometimes even a little bit of jealousy and envy, and under anger you have frustration, irritation and even rage. But these are like what's called as the big three, right? And how would you approach it? Because somebody listening to this, watching this video, listening to this audio, is likely experiencing one or more of these emotions from the perspective of catharsis and self-acceptance, what would you recommend to an individual who's seemingly plagued by these darker emotions?
Yeah, yeah. I think this is a relevant theme for us to be thinking about, because since time immemorial, you talk about any of the scriptures, stories, there's always this good guy and this bad guy. And the bad guy is seen as the guy that nobody likes, and everyone wants to kill him and things like that. And I liken that to the emotions, the thought forms, as well as emotional content that we carry inside of us. And a lot of the conditioning that we've kind of framed around some of the emotions, whereas others are things that we should just shun away, we shouldn't talk about them, we shouldn't bring them up. And what that's leading to, what is that leading to from a perspective of, if you look at mankind, not just culturally but also on an individual level, if we have not understood the value of all our emotions, because all emotions are indications of something deeper inside, and be able to unpack, sit with it, unpack it. And I'm kind of answering multiple layers to the questions that you just brought up. Yes, this is part of the work that I do. Yes, I think it's extremely necessary. It's not done at first because there is a lot of toxic cleansing at a very first level that I do in order to go into that area, because for a lot of people it's very scary. I've had clients who come back and say, I don't want to continue the program. I can't do this. I can't do this. This is not for me. And that tells me that, it's all the more necessary for people like this. You spoke about three buckets. In my mind, there are three kinds of people. There might be many more, but in my mind, it's like, three houses, the analogy of the house with the lights on, the house with the lights flickering, and then the house with no lights on. And the house with the lights on are people who are aware, conscious, and are doing the inner work and perfectly okay with working with different emotions, experiences, processing it, and all these different things. The second is the flicker, where they kind of know there's something that they need to do. Maybe they don't have the right tools, they don't have the right guidance, they don't have structure or anything to help them move from where they are. And then the third one is what I was just alluding to, is people who are completely unaware, and that's the large collective that we're seeing right now in the world, right? People who are doing things to get away from these kind of emotions. It could be gossip, it could be being on social media, it could be consumerism, it could be any sort of shadow sort of deflection, right? And I think it is extremely important for us individually and collectively to be able to work with our shadows, because it's beautiful. It's actually very, very beautiful, powerful work. And sometimes you do need guidance. Sometimes you do need people or containers to help you hold space for these things. For me, I've come to a point where I can hold space for myself because, I'm doing it. Arjun, you will know because you're doing this work as well. But for many people, and it's okay. It's okay. So I think being able to first unpack some of the shame, the guilt towards the anger, the jealousy. First, unpack that and acknowledge it's completely human. I might be walking on the road today and see someone who I might in my mind be comparing myself to, and I'll feel jealous. But then I can also have the ability in that moment to watch myself, to understand that I have the capacity to transmute that jealousy, to understand what's underneath that, because they're indications of something much deeper. I know that I can go on and on with this. You and I probably could, but yeah, so that hopefully answers some of the part around shadow work.
Yeah, it really, really is interesting. And you said understand the value of all our emotions. One of my teachers taught me, he said, extend validity to all your emotions,
Beautiful.
because we tend to demonize, just by labeling those emotions as dark. We say, okay, those are dark and therefore bad and something that we don't want.
Yeah.
And surely we have preferences with regard to the emotions that we want to feel, albeit these darker emotions, if I were to just use a label for the sake of language, are also valid, and they exist. And when you extend equal validity to them as you do to the lighter emotions, then your power to choose the lighter emotions actually increases. So yeah, this is really fascinating. I love this topic. I mean, this is something we could go into for hours and hours, like you said. Stepping back a little bit, and looking at it from a higher perspective. In NLP, we call it chunking up. And the question that I have is, what is two questions, part one and part two. What is the root of pain and suffering? That's the first part. And the second part is, is there a difference between pain and suffering? And if there is, what could the difference be?
Again, very deep questions, very profound questions, and where they're coming from. I'd like to link it back to the first question that you asked and how I responded around victim stories, right? I really, really believe that each of us is a divine form come on earth for a specific purpose. But life happens. We're born into certain families and situations and experiences, and we start to give shape consciously and unconsciously to our identity, to our beliefs, to who we believe we are and who we believe we should be. And this is kind of like a spiritual blinding, because we kind of we can't see who we are because of all this layering and toxicity that we're carrying around. And so I believe that pain and suffering are these frames of all the conditioning when we have taken this shape and form. Because once we start to release it, and I kind of want to link this back to the previous theme around shadow work. I think, in my experience and with the work that I do, being able to integrate and understand and acknowledge and love the parts that we have shunned, just love it unconditionally, like the way a mom loves her child. And I say this with full faith because I have my son and I love him unconditionally. That kind of love, when we are able to look at ourselves and say, yes, I do have these emotions and it's okay. I'm not a bad person. It's all right to go through these things, whatever it is: anger, rage, jealousy, avarice, all these other things. We're able to release the subjective, and I use this word consciously, the subjective pain that we are framing in that experience. And I have seen with myself and with my clients that within the first few weeks of doing this work, the transformational, profound, multidimensional shifts that they experience in their lives, when they start to accept themselves, love themselves, know that they can give themselves the permission to do that, all the things that they have framed earlier as pain, they start to take back and say, this is my power, this is my life, this is my voice. I take full responsibility for it. And while while both pain and suffering might seemingly feel and look or come across as distinctively different in someone's eyes, they're still interconnected at a root level. They're still coming from a space of unawareness. They're still coming from a space where the person is not, and we all have it. It's not like, just because we're doing work, we're completely free of it. No, it's an ongoing thing that we all have to do. And so the choice to suffer, even through a painful experience that I have,
Mm.
I can release, because I know that through expanded awareness, my options have increased. I don't want to suffer. I can still be in a state of joy. Um, but the other thing that I'm still alluding to is unpacking pain, because even pain is a frame within our conditioned mind. And of course, there are like extreme examples of maybe like a woman who's in an abusive relationship. But even then, when I work with people like this, we have seen such phenomenal, successful outcomes of these women doing things that they haven't done for 30, 40 years of their lives, just because they realize that now they're standing in their sovereignty. They are able to
Yes.
understand that they have the right to choose whether it is to speak up, whether it is to walk away, whether it is to choose how they want to respond in that situation. There are so many options that open up. So, yeah, again, I could go on and on, but this is kind of what's coming
Beautiful.
up right now.
Wow, this is really beautiful. And I'm rapidly taking notes as you're speaking as well, because some of these keywords are really powerful. The whole concept of giving yourself permission, and I'm quoting you here. You also said taking your power back, and you said stand in your sovereignty. To me, all of this is nothing but empowerment and self-empowerment. And you, Caroline, have been a propagator, an exemplar, a practitioner of the concept of women empowerment. And you've been talking about a few stories now just there about women coming into their power and empowering themselves. To me, independence is a very high value for me personally. Another very high level value for me is the concept of self reliance, where I rely on myself more than anything else. It does not mean that I don't ask for help or seek help, but I am, for the most part, in a state where I enjoy being reliant upon myself. So, you have done a lot of work in the area of women empowerment. This seems to be like a buzz term in the industry today. Corporates are talking about it, governments are talking about it. I mean, goodness gracious, anybody who stands in front of a microphone, in front of a group of people, speak about the concept of women empowerment. It's almost like when you hear the term, I know there's power in it, but it's spoken regrettably as a cliche nowadays, I'd really like to understand what is your take on it, is with the concept of women empowerment, what is the level that you take this to for a woman listening to this talk right now, to this dialogue between us? What would you have to say to her so that she could begin to become more empowered?
Yeah, yeah. So I believe that I've come into this world as a woman, but I also know that masculine and feminine energy resides in all of us. And there are certain benefits to both these types of energies, and being able to understand the benefits of both, but also the benefits of integration, which is a process, is extremely important as it relates to what you talk about empowerment, as it relates to peace, as it relates to understanding oneself better. Now, coming to the piece around women, and for all the women watching in, including to myself, and I'm speaking to myself in third person as I say this, I know that my life could only have changed when I decided that I want to change it. When I decided that what is the difference between allowance, creation of boundaries, respecting myself, when saying no, and being able to know when to say no, and not just as you had rightly put, not just as something cliche that you read about or somebody has told you. And this is a part that I really believe. I believe that watching someone's story or listening to someone else's story, whether it's a man or a woman, is not sufficient. For us to really transform, change form, we need to embody We need to make those shifts within ourselves, and this is hard work. This is hard work. I believe it was Thoreau who said that change is not for cowards. And I don't use these words lightly, and I don't use them with arrogance. I say this because I believe that no woman is less than a man, or less than, the meaning that she gives herself credit for. Therefore, it's important for us to first start to shape and form those beliefs that will release self deprecation. The need to stand on a rooftop and shout about something is not necessary. I can stand in my own in silence, and just by exuding presence of confidence, someone around me will know that I believe in myself. But let me tell you, this was work, because as a child, I know the kind of experiences that I went through, um, growing up, thinking that I'm less, shrinking to fit in, feeling small. But who was feeling all that? It was me. Who was going through all that? It was me. So, that spiritual pause, if I have to term it that way, was something that I needed to give myself. And because I was running away from it, the universe said, sit your butt down. I'm sorry I used that word on your podcast, but sit your butt down and do the work. Because until you do the work, you cannot speak to it with other people. And I took that spiritual pause, and it's been a huge, monumental, exponential change of scenery. I like the scenery now. And it's not like, the pain might have gone away, the circumstances might have changed drastically. No, it's my choosing to see it a certain way that has then allowed me to change the way I speak to myself, the self, critic and the language. And I think that's extremely important. I truly believe in self hypnosis, and from NLP you will probably already know the value of this, and then be able to use that with my clients as well. And so,
Super.
it starts with inner work. It's hard work, but once you've hit the ground, I think it's a whole lot easier to do. But it does need that courage. It does need for you to own up and say, I participated in that victim story. It was not, no one was holding a gun to my head. I participated in whatever shape and form, and forgive myself.
Mm,
Not blame someone else, but forgive myself for my own participation. And then I'm free.
mm.
I can breathe.
Excellent. No, so true, so true. My mentor's mentor would always say, you spoke about, you said it's work, you got to work on it. He said, work harder on yourself than anything else. And he said, your greatest battles are fought in the 6 inches between your ears. And so that whole inner work, Zig Ziglar would famously say, he would say, if there's something that's stinking, it's probably your thinking, and we all need a checkup from the neck up,
Right.
in his southern humor, so as to speak. I'm going to kind of, this is lovely. Everything you said is really, really amazing. And so I'm going to ask the same question in a different way, and let's see what kind of flows from it. And here's what I'd like to place into consciousness as a question. And that question is, what keeps a woman from becoming empowered? What keeps a woman from becoming empowered?
Hmm. In my profile, I kind of added this part as a preface to who I am. I say that being able to, peel back the veils, being able to address the elephant in the room, and what that means, and what I'm kind of alluding to in this space and with the question that you pose, is a lot of times it's the subconscious mechanisms of denial, of distraction, afraid to look it square in the face. And what is it? It's looking inside, right? It's not looking outside, because the more we look outside, the more miserable we are. But that looking inside, and I will frame it from your question for women specifically, but of course for everyone else, um, is the beliefs that she has formed about who she is. You believe you're not capable, you believe that you are no good. Someone tells it to you, so what? So what? They're not the right people to be with, they're not the right people to be around. If someone doesn't respect you, that's not the environment. And I say this all the time on LinkedIn, because there are several communities that I mentor with, I'm a part of, I lead conversations in. And many times in cross cultural spaces, or spaces which have a seeming intention on the surface, if you really go beneath, there's so much of prejudice, there's so much of separation, that creates an even wider chasm between people who need the work and people providing the work. And I think this these are the kind of spaces that do a disservice to the kind of work that we're doing as coaches. And why I say that is, if you're watching in, be conscious of your energy, be conscious of the spaces you're spending time in. Be with people who support your growth. Now there is a caveat to this. Supporting someone's growth doesn't mean that the person has to be a yes man, and someone who will go along with, especially if you're feeling sorry for yourself or you're putting yourself down. No, it's about being with people who will help you to hold yourself accountable in situations where you are not. If you're slipping, if they know you, and it's usually coaches can do this, a good coach can call it out very well. But people who know you and who love you and who want the best for you are the best support system that you have. So have a strong support system, people who are ready to call you out on your BS. Sorry, again, another terminology on your podcast.
But you know what BS stands for, right? BS stands for belief system or belief structure. So go right on ahead, right?
Awesome, awesome. Thank you for that. So, so it's reframing your identity, your beliefs around yourself, and taking responsibility, like full responsibility for who you are in the now moment.
Mm, absolutely. No, that's so powerful. Beliefs is an area that's really close to my heart, because when you are able to unravel, expose, reveal to an individual the belief systems or the software that they run on, they're able to realize why they feel the way they feel and do the things they do and get the results that they get. Les Brown very famously said that you're speaking about how other people's actions affect your beliefs. We learn to believe certain things from memes that are presented to us by media, family, and well-meaning friends. And Les Brown said, "Someone's opinion of you does not have to become your reality." Right? That's all it is. It's someone's opinion of you. um, Beliefs and coaching, because when we get into coaching, you're a coach and we're trying to help the person we're coaching, man or woman, to realize, to cognize, to recognize what those beliefs are that they have that is holding them back. We can call them disempowering beliefs, we can call them unresourceful beliefs, we can call them unwholesome beliefs, we can even call them unpreferred beliefs. Beliefs which, when we make changes in those beliefs by first recognizing that belief, then making a change in it, and now running your life on the new belief, the new program, the new software. What are one, two, or three prevalent disempowering beliefs in society today from your experience? What are some of the beliefs that hold us back? Which are the most prevalent ones that you've witnessed?
Go on social media, and I use social media because a lot of my work is connected with social media. You will find a lot of patterns as it relates to proving, trying to prove how good a person is or how exceptional a person is. And for a coach, you will probably, if you spend a little time looking at such energy, you'll understand that there's a lot of inadequacy shining through from those behaviors. And so that would be one that's really, really prevalent. The
Like
other
a belief,
is,
like I am inadequate. I mean, I'm just kind of framing it as a
I'm not
belief.
enough. I'm not enough.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm not. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Excellent. Yeah,
I'm not
yeah,
enough.
good. I'm
Therefore,
not
I need
enough. So
to
that's
try harder, work harder, do this, do that, people please,
yeah,
all those different things.
yeah, yeah.
Um, that's a big one actually.
Yes,
And
yes,
it kind of, it can go in so many ways, right?
yes,
Uh,
yes,
I
yes.
think the other is, um, wow, every time I'm trying to share one, it's kind of coming back to this one.
Because that is the root, isn't it, Caroline? And
Yeah,
I'm not enough. You could say it in another way. You could say I'm not worthy, I'm not deserving. It's the same thing at the end of the whole thing, because sometimes we blame the external, where we say it's not possible. So
yeah.
that's still like outside. And the other one is I'm not capable, which is more to do with skill. Well, you can develop capability, but at the root of it is I'm not worthy.
Beautiful.
So so that kind of concentric circles, from we kind of say it's not possible, but and then we kind of say I'm not capable, and then finally it comes down to, when you kind of like unpeel the onion, you kind of, someone says it's not possible, you show them other people who've done it, oh, so it is possible. Or I'm not capable, then you kind of show them how people like you have done similar things. Okay, now I'm capable. And then finally, at the core, it comes down to, no, but I just don't feel worthy, which means I believe that I don't deserve this, which is so challenging to individuals to even acknowledge that they have that belief system, because most of us wear a mask. And I often say that we were wearing masks long before COVID 19. And COVID 19 is consciousness's way of forcing us to be truthful to ourselves by now wearing masks in the physical dimension as well, just as we have been wearing it in the mental, emotional, and spiritual dimension. So, in a manner of speaking, that this whole mask thing that's happening is now we being true to ourselves. Like, look, I'm kind of not exposing to you who I really am, and I'm not even exposing to myself who I really am.
Yeah.
And hopefully, the disappearance of COVID will help millions of people also to unmask, not just physically, but even metaphorically, and kind of recognize who their authentic self is. So this is really good. And I know you do a lot of this, and much of what you were talking about earlier has to do with helping men and women to acknowledge their authentic selves.
Yeah.
Could you share something out, just either a question or a comment, a technique, a quick one out there, to help us to start the journey of moving towards our authentic selves?
Well, that's a good question. And I think it's an important and relevant question because methodologies, tools that we can use beyond coaching programs are my belief that people need to sustain for a lifetime with the tools and spiritual, intellectual, heart-centric technologies that we want to provide them. Uh,
Hmm.
at a very basic level, within the frame of today's conversation, laughter. Laughter is, yeah, I mean, we forget to laugh. Let me tell you, in a session very recently with one of my clients, this person is going through a program for certain things and made this comment, I want to laugh. And I said, then laugh. If you're feeling embarrassed or ashamed that someone will watch you, go to a place. It could be in nature. Nature is a beautiful environment. Set yourself free, just start laughing, rolling on the floor and laugh.
That is so powerful and so true indeed. Absolutely. I mean, you remember the old quote that used to say, "We don't stop laughing because we grow old. Rather, we grow old because we stop laughing." And there's so much of science also. The science of laughter. We have laughter therapy. There's laughter clubs.
Yeah.
You live in India. I live in Dubai. There's laughter clubs here in Dubai where groups get together. People of all age groups, genders, nationalities. And different walks of life, and just coming together and experiencing that joyfulness, which now puts out good energy into the quantum field also, right? And causes you to attract great things into your life. Do you realize we've been at it for like 52 minutes now? Good Lord, I'm just.
This is the beauty of
This is
quantum
really amazing. I
reality,
mean,
isn't it?
sorry, I didn't get that.
I said this is the beauty of the quantum reality, isn't it?
Yeah,
Time just
it's
flies and you
certainly,
don't
it's
even know. Yeah.
it, it does, you know. So they say now in the new era that we are time and space are malleable, you know, that's how it is. Tell us, Caroline, stuff about this new era that we are in, you know, in the last, maybe I'd just say 5, 10 years, maybe even the last 1 year. There's been so much conversation around these wholesome concepts, stuff that you and me are talking about, whether it's meditation, holistic ideas, maybe even the idea towards better diets, taking stock of well-being within yourself and for others, treating ourselves as a collective rather than an individual. What's your perspective on what's happening in global consciousness now? Where are we at, and how do you kind of foresee, if you were to foretell, portend, what's going to play out in humanity over the next decade, the 2020s, so as to speak? What would you postulate from there, just from your intuitive mind
I
and
think
heart?
I feel I feel very blessed to be in the time we are in. I think we are in a very, very powerful inflection as it relates to up leveling, collective up leveling.
Yeah,
I think we are
yeah,
continuously, the universe, Mother Earth, Mother Nature, all these different seeming unseen, unstated forces that protect and guide us are continuously showing us signs. Go there, do this,
yeah,
wait here. And there is a growing number of people, just like the conversations that we're having across the world, who have already tapped into and are being able to alchemicalize as well as harness and cultivate this multidimensional, sets of power and energy for the greater good. And it's a very, very beautiful journey. Yet on the flip side, and the image that comes in my mind is about the Old Testament Noah's Ark time, where he built this whole ark and people were laughing at him, and when the time came, the ark worked. And if I use that analogy, I see that this is what is happening right now in the frame of um, human consciousness, our very existence, but also from a perspective of where we're moving. I believe that coaching, and this is one small example, but also from a perspective of technology, I think there are people, there are light
mm,
forces and there are dark forces. And, it all depends on which side of that fork, that bifurcation you choose to go down, and being intentional about it and saying, I want peace. I want to experience fulfillment. I want great health, great family life. All these things are, within our reach, depending on which side we choose, the arc, or being able to, choose to make fun of people who are building the arc. And I believe that the kind of work that
yeah,
we are doing, and several other people and organizations across the globe, can be able to provide these containers and these sustainable ways, not just for us as human beings, but for everything that is right beyond human life. And that's the beauty of it. So it's a very powerful, beautiful time. It's all about choice. Go back to that first question you asked. It's all about choice. It's all about reclaiming our power and, tapping into, I'm getting goosebumps as I say all this, but really tapping into, it's already there. We just have to say, I'm ready, I'm willing, I'm here.
yeah. Mm, absolutely, absolutely. Okay, all right. So I'm going to sneak in a few really quick ones right now. Okay. And here it is. What's one thing about Caroline that we do not know?
I'm leaving. I'll be seeing you in 3 days. Actually, a few weeks. I'm traveling to Dubai.
Oh, wow, really? We didn't know she's coming to Dubai. This is really cool. So this video is going to be out well before that. And we are recording this on the 1st of August. Happy August, by the way. Today is the 1st of August,
Happy
the day on which
August.
we're recording this video. And God willing, we'll post it up very,
Isn't
very
your
soon, within
birthday
a day or
around sometime now? Your birthday?
yeah, absolutely. So yeah, about in yeah, on the 11th of this month, I proudly say I will celebrate the 28th anniversary of my 21st birthday. So I'm certainly looking forward to that.
You're a master number. You're a master number. 11 is a master number.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Absolutely
Lovely.
great. Yeah, looking forward to that. Looking forward to that. Favorite movie?
Uh,
Favorite movie?
I'm kind
What's
of
your favorite?
disconnected from movies actually, so I can't really think of
Yeah.
anything at the
Okay.
top of a hat. Yeah.
Documentary or a docu-series that has had an impact on you?
Oh God, are these all like because this is all unplanned and I'm very bad with all this. I can't remember. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Oh yeah,
Okay, all right.
but one thing I
I'm
will
not gonna,
share. One thing I will
yeah,
share is one of my masters, my coaches, my mentors, Reverend Michael Bernard Beckwith. So
yes.
the envisioning process, it's not something you watch, but I listen to it. So that is something that has really, really changed my life. I use a lot of the methodologies from there in my work.
Could you say that out loud again? What is that called?
Yeah, so he is based out of California. His name is Reverend Michael Bernard Beckwith. And he does something, one of the things is around envisioning, being able to recognize your potential, unlock it. And, it's a process, but it would be something that has really, really not just touched my life, but, opened my heart up.
Mm, beautiful, beautiful, really, really nice. That's great. And is this information available on YouTube or Google, or how does one get this information?
Yes,
Is it
yes, he is available on YouTube. His course is available on Audible as well as a book, I think. Yeah.
beautiful? Beautiful. Okay. Favorite song?
I have too many. You're asking me, and this is the surface level stuff, right? After where we went, oh God, no, please, no.
So you guys can see from her facial expressions, these are totally unplanned,
I know,
or
it's just
rather,
terrible. I'm so terrible at this.
there you go. She had no idea I'm going to ask. There you go. What's a song? What's a song that comes to you?
I don't know. When you ask me this, something that comes to my mind as an image is
Yeah.
singing in the choir.
Yes.
And while I'm again failing miserably at this quiz of yours, I really felt one with the divine when I would sing in the
Beautiful.
choir. I really felt, yeah, that's
Mm,
the only thing, just feeling one, just being able to sing my heart out.
yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Absolutely. Absolutely. And music is sound energy, and sound is vibration, right? And vibration has frequency, which results in healing. So that's what
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah.
Absolutely. A book that has impacted you?
Many. I think I'd say Deepak Chopra's Synchro Destiny would be one.
Mhm.
The other is
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
Bhagavad Gita, which I read. The third
Mhm.
is Jack Canfield's book, um, Success Affirmations. So
Yeah. Yeah.
these two or three books definitely. So books is something,
Mhm.
yeah, I'm kind of connected with. Yeah.
So how does someone get in touch with Caroline?
Uh,
How do people contact you?
yeah. So I'm available on LinkedIn, Caroline Cares Fernandez. That's one of the easiest ways to find me. DM me and just say hi. I love to connect.
Fantastic, fantastic. What would you like to say to all of us before we bid you adieu?
One, to thank you for holding space. I really felt your divine presence in this space. So thank you for this beautiful container that you create and you facilitate, and allow your guests to come in and really go deep. So that, and to all your viewers who clearly resonate with your heart, thank you for watching in. And one message would be to, if there's anything, this life is teaching me, is to just be myself. I'm continuously reminded of being like a child, because they're the purest form of, human life form. So just be yourself and be okay with it.
Excellent. That's really, really powerful. In the Tao Te Ching, it says, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And you, Caroline, today have appeared as a teacher to
Aw.
all of us willing students.
I,
And so we're
I have to
totally
stop
grateful
you
for
there. I
that.
have to stop you
Yeah.
there. I mean, I don't see myself that way. I feel like I'm a baby in this universe. And, I want my heart to speak. That's the only thing.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. So that, ladies and gentlemen, was Caroline Fernandez and her wisdom. She has spoken about her coordinates, and down here I'm going to even give you a link to help you to reach out to her and connect. Anything else at all you'd like to say, Caroline? Before I hit the pause button on this, you and me can just talk.
Thank you so much. And God bless you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Okay, so now the recording has